Looks like we got ourselves a fifth man, a part of the OG bloodline going into Survivor Series next week. And it was all thanks to the return of Paul Heyman. What's up, you guys? I'm the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling. This past Friday on WWE SmackDown, we saw the triumphant return of Paul Heyman. He was there to even the odds against the rogue bloodline of Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and newly acquainted Bronson Reed. This brought out Paul Heyman, who introduces CM Punk. That's right. The Paul Heyman guy himself makes his return to the WWE after being victorious at the Hell in a Cell a month back. CM Punk looks like he's going back-to-back with steel cage matches with a roof over the tops of the cage. That's got to be some kind of a record. I mean, he's going to go into the history books with this one. 1 month he's in Hell in a Cell, the next month he's in War Games. And he is it's an uncharacteristic choice for the OG Bloodline, not something I'm sure they would have chosen, but with Paul Heyman coming back, there was a ton of rumors about who he was going to bring with him. There was rumors of it being Brock Lesnar. I even saw an interesting rumor that it could have been Braun Breaker. The Brock Lesnar one made the most sense to me, but I do understand why they wouldn't have brought Brock Lesnar back, considering he is tangled up in the allegations towards Vince McMahon. And until that situation gets itself sorted out, I do believe that we're not going to see Brock Lesnar on WWE television until that time. And totally understandable. I get it. But it did make a lot of sense if he would have brought Brock Lesnar in. But bringing CM Punk in, it definitely makes a whole lot more sense than Seth Rollins. If you recall in my previous videos, I was adamant that the situation between Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed being involved in the Bloodline Civil War, to me, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I was going to be curious to see how the WWE tied those loose ends up regarding the storyline. And they definitely gave us a red herring with Seth Rollins, where I was trying to figure out how they were going to make that work, and boom, they hit us with the Kansas City Shuffle, the one that I was talking about in the previous video, that being CM Punk making his return. And it makes so much sense. This is now going into a year since CM Punk has returned to the WWE. He returned at Survivor Series, and now he's going to be involved in War Games, a match he returned to last year. If you recall, at the end of the War Games last year, he made his return and showed up to the surprise of everyone. I mean, that pop that he got when he came back, it was incredible. Now he's going to be involved in War Games. Very excited to see where they go with this and how this plays out. I still believe that my theory of the Rogue Bloodline losing and then Solo in desperation tossing the Ulafala to The Rock, and The Rock wearing the Ulafala and staring down Roman Reigns is the way to go. I haven't been very successful with predicting what's going to happen at War Games, which I completely love. I love that the WWE is in a situation now where they're testing to see how much we're paying attention and what they can throw at us and make work, and I love it. Bronson Reed felt like a pivot, and I was wondering why they're pivoting. Is The Rock not available? Probably not too confident in Hikuleo showing up. Maybe Zilla Fatu is still young and not ready for that type of a position. And then they brought Bronson Reed in, and they made it seem like we were for sure going to see Seth Rollins reunite with Roman Reigns for this specific War Games cage match. And then they turned it on its head, and they brought CM Punk back aligned with Paul Heyman. This makes so much more sense and gives us so much options going into the next year for the WWE to kind of play with. CM Punk, I can only imagine in the creative room going like, what if we get everybody to think it's going to be Seth Rollins, and then it becomes me? And then Seth is pissed that I took the spot that he didn't want, but that he got himself involved in another situation that sort of involves Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins can now say, like, look, Bronson Reed is mine. Like, I got a problem with Bronson Reed, and now you're sticking your nose again in my business. I wanted to get revenge on Bronson Reed. No, I didn't want to be involved with the bloodline, but I definitely wanted to get payback on Bronson Reed, and then you stepped all over that, just like you step on everything. Like, there's so much there that can set Seth Rollins off, and I'm really interested to see where they go with Seth Rollins' character development after this, because if I had my way, I would like to see, and this is going to be a deep cut for professional wrestling fans that are not familiar with Seth Rollins outside of the WWE. If the only thing you know of Seth Rollins is him in the WWE, and you're not familiar with Tyler Black, the former Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion and the man that ran roughshod over the independent circuit with his athleticism and ability to put on great matches, then this is gonna fly right over your head. But I'm a big fan of the Tyler Black from the Age of the Fall. Age of the Fall was a stable that came together really in controversial fashion by basically hanging a professional wrestler in the middle of the ring and causing chaos. It was Necro Butcher, it was a lady by the name of Lacey, I believe, it was Tyler Black, and it was the leader, Jimmy Jacobs. And that stable, I was a huge fan of that because it sent Ring of Honor in a different direction. Their direction was, up until that point, a lot of technical, high-flying based wrestling with the idea of showing respect to your opponent before and after the match. There were a couple of matches that had fights without honor, but up until then you really didn't see a whole lot of chaos aside from when the Hit Squad were beating up the Dixie Collection or Connection. But with this stable, it kind of turned the tides and sent Ring of Honor into a different direction. They were the catalyst of the chaos, and I love that. And Tyler Black had like blonde hair on one side and dark hair on the other side. He did a sort of tribute to this when he was first involved in the Shield. Seth Rollins going dark like that again, I think, is important for his character development, because up until then, he's been a very flamboyant, cackle-laughing, having a good time type of a guy, and the guy that's going to send him into a dark place, being CM Punk, makes a whole lot of sense. CM Punk stealing his sunshine, stealing his smile. This, of course, you can draw comparisons to Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and there are a ton of comparisons between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. If you recall, Seth Rollins basically being the chosen one for Triple H during his corporate days after he turned on the Shield. CM Punk, so many callbacks to Bret the Hitman Hart, the way that he left the WWE the first time, his pipe bombs, the way that he's been going after authorities, his use of the sharpshooter. There's so many different ways that you can draw these conclusions, and WWE would definitely love to see that correlate being CM Punk and Seth Rollins, two major superstars going into the new year in a colossal feud that is personal and that sends them into different directions as characters. I would love to see that being fleshed out going forward. But CM Punk being involved in War Games really ties up the loose ends here for the War Games match. It really starts to make a lot more sense. I initially was going with the idea of it being Cody Rhodes and possibly either being Kevin Owens or being The Rock. But that was me fantasy booking, and obviously I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, to be honest with you, because I missed the idea of it being CM Punk. I remember guessing that it could have been CM Punk or Brock Lesnar or any of these other guys, but I'll be honest, I really wasn't sure that we were going to get CM Punk, and I was genuinely shocked. I mean, I was unspoiled by the event, and my mouth, I was like, wow, like I was completely thrown off, and it was a good thing. And I look forward to seeing where they go after this. One of the things that I definitely liked was CM Punk and Roman Reigns having that stare down. That was the first time CM Punk and Roman Reigns had been in the ring at the same time since CM Punk had those brief interactions with the Shield over a decade ago. This was before CM Punk was leaving. They were like two ships passing in the night. And now Roman Reigns is staring across the ring at CM Punk. Another connection there is that CM Punk definitely reminded The Rock that you don't have the arms to box with God. Call back to the promo that he cut on The Rock way back as well over a decade ago when The Rock was the world champion, took the title from CM Punk and was headed to WrestleMania to wrestle John Cena. So The Rock can also be involved in this. I mean, The Rock has watched Roman Reigns side with Cody Rhodes. an enemy of The Rock. He has watched Roman Reigns go after Solo Sikoa. He has watched The Rock. He has watched Roman Reigns do a lot of things in regards to going back on what he initially said with The Rock were enemies. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, and now CM Punk. And The Rock is going to probably be a little confused and pissed off and have a lot to say to Roman Reigns. And Solo, in desperation, I can totally see throwing that Ula Fala to The Rock, because one of the things that I noticed during the promo with Solo Sikoa, when he was trying to get Roman Reigns to surrender this past Friday on SmackDown, he said, "You don't have a fifth man, and you don't have a wise man." That was an interesting point, because you could say that the Rogue Bloodline has been operating without a wise man. Or have they? Now that is an interesting point there. Maybe The Rock has been the one that's been behind the scenes kind of positioning the Rogue Bloodline for success, and he watches them get close to success and then end up failing, and now he's going to interject himself and really get involved. That is an interesting concept that they could flesh out as well. Cody Rhodes obviously has unfinished business with The Rock as well. How they get there, that's any man's guess. I would like to see a scenario that is similar to WrestleMania 10, I believe. Yeah, WrestleMania 10, when it was Bret Hart against Lex Luger. The winner wrestled Yokozuna for the championship later on that night. Well, that was a one-night WrestleMania. We are now into two-night WrestleManias. And this past WrestleMania, we saw The Rock and Roman Reigns team up to meet Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And then the next night, we saw Cody Rhodes wrestle Roman Reigns. So they can do something similar, where one night it's The Rock against Roman Reigns. The winner of that match goes on to night 2 to meet Cody Rhodes. This could be another scenario that they throw out there. Anything is possible. I love the fact that we get to make these guesses, and that the company is in a good shape to step back, see everybody's opinions, see where everybody is trying to guess where they're going to go next, and then go into different routes. That is an interesting position for the WWE to be in, and it's in a position that they're in like this, in a successful position that they're in, where they get to try different things and throw the fans off. And honestly, by throwing the fans off, but making sense of it, not just being some haphazardly thrown together plan without an idea of why we got there, but we're going to roll with it instead. Now they get to be deliberate, and they really get a chance to shock the audience and keep them interested at the same time, and hold off on some of these cards that they have in their disposal, some of these ace cards and these king cards and queen cards that they have at their disposal, and hold off on them for when they really need it. They've got Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes still in the pocket. They've got CM Punk and Seth Rollins in the pocket. They've got CM Punk and Rock in the pocket. They've got Roman Reigns and The Rock in the pocket. They got Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes in their pocket. They've got all these options that haven't been used yet that are sitting there. Rock and John Cena again. Cody and John Cena. John Cena and CM Punk. All of these cards that they have that they can utilize in 2025 that they haven't even thrown on the table. And I love that. And I love that they're doing that. I am happy to say that I'm going to fall on my shield and on my sword on this, saying that initially that I didn't think it made sense to have Seth Rollins in the OG Bloodline against the Rogue Bloodline and Bronson Reed, and it didn't make sense for Seth Rollins to join back up with the OG Bloodline. Obviously, that was a red herring. That was not the case, and they have made a really wise decision of adding CM Punk into this mix. Now they also have a situation where Bronson Reed and CM Punk can continue their feud on Raw, and then Seth Rollins can get involved in that as well. Lots of moving pieces here. Drew McIntyre can come back. It could be Drew McIntyre and Bronson Reed against CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So many different ways that you can utilize these superstars going into 2025 and move these pieces along to further storylines and continuously thread different pieces together. I am such a big fan of where the WWE is currently right now. They are doing an awesome job of keeping interest, keeping excitement, and keeping everybody on their toes. Because me and everyone else in the WWE and wrestling community as a whole, we like to consider ourselves smart marks, smart fans. And when we can't guess correctly, or when we're constantly on our toes trying to see where they're going to go next, it generates excitement for the fans that really want to get general knowledge beyond what they're telling us and go deeper down the rabbit holes and try to predict things ourselves. Our amateurish booker comes out of us, but then also you get the casual fans that are going to tune in because the excitement and the buzz and the energy is so electric that you want to be a part of something. You feel like, I need to be a part of this. Everybody is super excited about this. Everybody is talking about this. So it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, great time to be a fan of the WWE. I love what they're doing right now going into 2025 with Netflix. War Games should be a great one. I'm going to give you my predictions about that more towards the end of next week. And hopefully we see The Rock show up, which seems like all signs are pointing to The Rock making an appearance again, just like he did at Bad Blood. This time, I think he's going to be putting on the Ulafala. But what do you guys think? What do you think about CM Punk joining the OG Bloodline as the fifth man going into War Games? Paul Heyman has made his return, is a wise man in the Rogue Bloodline's future, and his name isn't Paul Heyman. Could it be the Tribal Cheeks, Rikishi? Could it be the final boss, The Rock? You guys let me know in the comments. Thumbs up on the way out, you guys. Keep the algorithm in my favor so that it gets out to as many people as possible. And as always, stay tuned for more.